defects in timber. Wood defects can be defined as those features that can reduce the quality or the market value of timber. Defects in timber can be classified into two. These are natural defects, artificial defects. Now let's look at them in details. Natural defects. These are those defects which develop during the growth of the tree. It could also result from the deterioration of timber and shrinkage. There are two types of natural defects in timber. These are 1. Shakes. 2. Knots. What is a shake? Shakes are timber defects that occur around the annual ring or growth ring of timber. A shake is caused by the splitting, that is, cracking of parts of the stem in a living tree. In other words, cracks or splits in the wood are called shakes. Some of the common examples of shakes are 1. Heart shake. This is a radial crack or split on the cross section of the center of the log, running outwards from the pith. Heart shakes start propagating from the pith to the sapwood along the lines of the medullary rays. It is generally the result of disease or overmaturity of timber. 2. Cup shakes. These are shakes formed due to the non-uniform growth of a tree. They are cracks of annual rings or growth rings due to excessive bending of the tree by high winds or lack of nourishment. It is capable to separate the growth ring partially. 3. Star shakes. This type of shakes starts propagating from the bark towards the sapwood and sometimes even towards the heartwood along the lines of the medullary rays. It consists of several heart shakes which form an approximate star. Cracks are wider on the outer edge or back and narrower on the inside, that is usually the sapwood and sometimes the heartwood. The main reasons behind star shakes are extreme heat or frosting during the growth of the trees and rapid or uneven seasoning after cutting off the timber. It can also be caused by shrinkage in an overmature tree. 4. Ring shakes. When the cracks separate the annual ring completely, it is called ring shakes. So, all ring shakes are cup shakes, but all cup shakes are not ring shakes. Now let's look at the second type of defect, which is known as knot. A knot is a branch which is embedded in the stem of a growing tree. Knots are the most common defects caused due to natural forces. During the growth of a tree, branches close to the ground or lower branches die. Bases of those branches remain in the tree as the trees grow. These bases may create imperfections known as knots. And now we move on to the next item in the topic, which is artificial defects. The artificial defects are those defects which can be caused by any or all of the following factors. It could be caused by bad felling. Artificial defects can also result from careless handling. Artificial defects can be caused by poor seasoning of timber. Artificial defects can be caused by bad preservation of timber. And equally, artificial defects can be caused by insect attack. And that brings us to the different types of artificial defects. We have warps, checks, and insect attack. Let's look at the meaning of warp as an artificial defect. Warping is defined as a deformation in the original plane surface of a board cut from the timber. There are curvatures, that is, bending in wood resulting from non-uniform shrinkage during seasoning. This is also attributed to unequal shrinkage. It is most commonly developed in those boards that are cut from green or unseasoned timber. During seasoning of timber, the exterior or surface layer of the timber dries before the interior surface, so stress is developed due to the difference in shrinkage. Warping deformations in timber may take various shapes, of which the following are more common. 1. Bow. This is a curvature of the board developed in a longitudinal direction. The thin board takes the shape that looks much like a bow. 2. Cupping. This is a distortion developed transversely. The length of the board in this situation remains unaffected, but the width suffers distortion. 3. Twisting. This is a complex type of distortion in which one end of the board is so much distorted that it comes to lie over a part of the other edge. And now we also move ahead looking at the next item, which is checks as an example of artificial defect. A check is a split or crack formed along the grain of the wood resulting from drying. It is a kind of crack that separates fibers, but it doesn't extend from one end to another. They form due to over-seasoning of timber. These cracks or checks are often cutting across the annual rings of the log. The last type of artificial defect is insect attack. These are tiny holes found on the surfaces of the wood. They are usually found on the sapwood. Insects like beetle, termites, or marine borers eat wood, make holes, and weaken the strength of the wood. Beetles are small insects that make holes in almost all the sapwood. The larvae make tunnels through the sapwood in all directions and turn wood into powder. Termites live in a colony. They are very fast in eating wood and making tunnels through it. Only a few good kinds of wood can withstand the action of termites. Marine borers are found in salt water. Usually they make tunnels in wood to take refuge or shelter. All kinds of wood or timber are vulnerable to this kind of insects. And now we're going to look at the effects of defects in timber. Defects in timber, whether natural or artificial, can cause the following damages to the wood. 1. It reduces the quality of the timber. 2. It reduces the market value of the timber. 3. It weakens the timber. 4. It does not enhance durability. And 5. It reduces usage. And now let's look at the preservation of timber. Having looked at the defect of timber, how do we preserve timber to avoid having artificial defects? Preservation of timber can be defined as the process of using wood preservatives to prolong the service life of timber. These preservatives should be poisonous to the insects that attack the wood, but not harmful to the timber. Let's see the different types of timber preservatives. Some of the timber preservatives available for woodworking include 1. water-soluble preservatives. 2. Oil preservatives. And 3. Organic solvent preservatives. And let's look at them in details. Water-soluble preservatives. This consists of preservative substances dissolved in water. They are odorless, inexpensive, and non-flammable. However, due to the presence of water in such preservatives, their application can often lead to swelling or warping of the wood. It is preferred for wood work pieces which are not to be painted and do not have any color. They are suitable for use both in internal and external work. Examples of such preservatives include zinc oxide, copper sulfate, etc. And then oil preservatives. This is a black or brownish oily liquid used as a timber preservative. It is an effective and inexpensive timber preservative that is easy to apply. It should not be used for interior work as it can be inflammable. It possesses a very strong lingering odor, e.g. creosote and coal tar. Creosote is a very effective preservative. It is insoluble in water and therefore resistant to leaching and non-corrosive to metals, and it has a high electrical resistance. It protects timber against splitting and weathering. And then the third type of wood preservative is organic solvent preservative. They are timber preservatives which can be dissolved in volatile liquids like petroleum oils. It is suitable for both interior and exterior works. Application of these chemicals gives long-lasting protection due to their natural insolubility in water. After evaporation of the organic solvent, the active chemicals remain in the wood. Examples of organic solvent preservatives are gamalin 20 and chlorinated phenol. And now let's look at the next item, which is properties of a good timber preservative. A good timber preservative must have the following properties. 1. It must be poisonous to the destructive agents, that is termites, fungi, and insects. 2. It must be safe to handle. 3. It must be easy to apply. 4. It must be cheap and easily obtainable. 5. It must be highly resistant to fire. 6. It should be odorless. 7. It should be permanent and not easily bleached by sunshine or rain. 8. It should not corrode other materials in contact with treated wood. How do we actually apply these preservatives to the wood or timber? This brings us to the methods of applying wood preservatives. The following methods can be used as effective ways of applying wood preservatives. 1. Brushing. This is the simplest but also least effective method of applying wood preservatives. It involves the use of a brush to superficially treat the surface of the wood. 2. Spraying. This involves the use of a spray gun to apply the preservative material on the surface of the wood. It is desirable to make a second application after the first one has dried up, so that the preservative material can stick to the surface of the wood. 3. Dipping. This consists of immersing wood in a preservative solution for several seconds to several minutes. It allows better penetration into checks and cracks of wood, but It is unsatisfactory for uses subject to abrasion. There is little protection against termites, and it is not recommended for wood used in contact with the ground. 4. Cold immersion. This is the process of immersing the timber, either full length or only the butt end of the timber, for 1 or 2 days in an unheated solution of timber preservatives. This is simple and relatively inexpensive. It is thought to give more protection than dipping. 5. Pressure treatment. This process involves the use of an airtight cylinder, pressure pumps, steam heating coils to pump the preservative material into the surface of the wood, thereby increasing pressure and driving the chemical into the wood. 6. Steeping method. This is done by submerging either seasoned wood or green timbers for long periods in a water solution of any soluble preservative salt. This process is slow and requires a week or 2 before good preservation of chemicals can be achieved. 7. Hot and cold open tank process. This involves the process of immersing the wood in a tank containing hot preservative liquid. This process is normally used for treating poles and fence posts and has given very satisfactory results. And this is how we come to the end of the lesson on the module timber defects. In this module, we have looked at the defects of timber, and we have also looked at how to avoid the defects by using preservatives, as well as the different methods of applying these preservatives. See you again in the next module. Bye-bye.